Hello everyone, and welcome to my review for the new chapter of Bleach, which is a very weird thing that I never thought I would ever be able to say, but here we are now. Bleach is back, and it's back for more than just this chapter. So I guess this is going to be the first of a new series of Bleach reviews, which is pretty exciting. I haven't done a dedicated Bleach video in almost a year now, so needless to say, I'm a little excited and a little nervous, actually. I think it's the first time in a while I've been a bit nervous for the start of a video. Probably just because it's Bleach, and, well, I haven't talked about it, ever since my channel got this big. So, hello to any new people who are here, because this is the first video of mine that you're watching, because it's a Bleach video. If you enjoy what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button. My subscriber goal for 2021 is hitting 5,000 by the end of the year. We are 1,500 away from that goal. I'm going to be doing a countdown now in every video. So yeah, if you enjoy what you see and you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscription button. So before I get into this week's review, I have to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons: Fuse, Neo, Dijon Redden, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Moonshadow935, Rat, Ryzen 4K, and Artist. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at the start of videos or access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can always become a patron. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. With that out of the way, let's get on with the review. Since Shueisha is Shueisha, I'm going to be mostly avoiding the use of manga panels in this video, just because I already have 2 copyright strikes and I'd rather Bleach not be responsible for getting my channel taken down. So I'm also going to be using anime screenshots or fan art. But one thing I will be using from this new chapter is this beautiful color page that we got at the start. The Second Coming of a Legend. This is an awesome color page spread. Just seeing everyone here in all of their glory, or in the background, it's just awesome. It's just so good. Reading this chapter is a very weird feeling for me, because I did not read Bleach when it was still coming out. I read Bleach, binged it about a year ago. So this is a strange feeling for me. This is my first new Bleach chapter. The first time I've ever read a new Bleach chapter. And it's quite exciting. So, the chapter covers quite a few things. It is, I think, 73 pages, so it covers a decent amount of stuff. The first part of the chapter focuses on Kazui, who is Ichigo and Orahime's kid. He's thinking about how, it seems like he is thinking about how when he was little he had 2 goldfish, and one of them died. The bigger of the 2 died. And he was really sad about it initially. But after a while, the smaller of the 2 goldfish that survived, and he thought was done growing, suddenly started growing again and became a lot bigger. And as a result, he became happy that the bigger fish had died. Now, this is a very interesting mindset, especially for someone who is, well, maybe he's an adult recalling this, but for this to have been something that a kid was thinking about is very interesting. It's sort of the idea that, regardless of whether something is good or bad, it can still lead to good things happening. Sort of like, would you redo your whole life if you had the chance? Knowing where you are now. If you're happy with your current position, but you went through a lot of bad things in your life prior to now, would you go back in time and stop those bad things from happening, for the risk that maybe the very happy present you live in now wouldn't exist if it weren't for those bad things that happen? It's a very interesting thing to start off this new chapter and arc with. I'm wondering where exactly Kubo plans on going with that theme. Now we see Orihime checking in on Kazui. She thinks he's asleep, and then, once she leaves, he gets up, starts climbing out his window. Kon is there trying to stop him because he's in trouble for probably doing this before, but he goes anyway, and Kon ends up following him. And he rides on this big, I guess, Reiatsu goldfish, which is pretty cool. Kazui's got a pretty neat setup going for him. And he meets this crying dude with an afro who I am almost 100% sure is a spirit. Looks like he has these little Reiatsu glowing things around him. So this seems to be pretty much what Ichigo was doing at the start of Bleach, where he was just going around helping out the spirits of the dead. As many people have pointed out, it's very funny that Bleach started off being about a boy who could see and talk to ghosts, and then became what it became by the end of the series. So he's talking to this dead guy who says he's 15, but listen, that's not a 15-year-old. That is not a 15-year-old boy. That is like a 30-something-year-old man. Now, Kazui apparently has been going to see this guy semi-frequently, but he's not going to be able to see him again tomorrow. So instead, he brings him to some place where he won't be lonely. He takes him to like this shrine place, and there's this little rock structure next to it that Kazui prays to, and then these eyeball things appear, and it seems like a gateway opens up. But the thing is, this does not seem like the Dangai. This does not seem like one of the portals to Soul Society. This looks like one of the portals to Hell, which is very important for this chapter. So we find out that the title of this chapter is No Breaths from Hell, which I guess I'm going to have to include in the title of this video. This video's title is going to be a fucking mouthful, more so than my usual titles. So Kazui opens this portal, and then we go over to Soul Society 3 hours earlier, where we see Renji and Rukia's kid, Ichika, and she is training with Ikkaku, who's really good to see. I think Ikkaku was criminally underused post-Arrancar arc for the most part, so it's really great to see him here again being relevant. And it seems like he is Ichika's combat instructor. He is the person teaching her the way of the sword. They have some back and forth. It seems like they've got a pretty entertaining master-student relationship here. Ikkaku teases her for seemingly, liking Kazui, which I don't think he really implies at all. I think he was just saying, like, you probably want to see Ichigo's kid, and the fact that she immediately jumps to this makes it very obvious that she does feel that way. We see Yuma Chika, who's looking very drippy right now. One of the things I really, really like in this chapter is that we've gotten a lot more customization for the seated officers. I really like the designs for the captains because they're very uniform. You can recognize anyone who's a captain, but they're all customized in a way that makes them recognizable for the individual captains. And it seems like now the seated officers, the lieutenants, are starting to get more stuff like that. There's more variety in their uniforms, and I'm a really big fan of it. It's really cool. So Yumi Chika is here to announce that they are having something called the Soul Funeral Festival. Then we go over to Renji to try and get an explanation for this. Pretty much, 12 years after a captain dies, they do a ritual, kind of almost celebrating the anniversary of their death. And the reason pretty much none of them have ever heard of it is because, well, when was the last time a captain died before the war with the Quincy's? Like, it's been forever since a captain died, so naturally, pretty much none of them would have heard of it before. So they've done the rituals for Yamamoto and Unohana already, so now it's time for Ukitake's ritual. So they go out into the human world, they grab a hollow, and then they kill it in front of their grave, which is a really weird funeral ritual, but whatever, I guess. It is basically their purpose in existence to kill hollows, so I guess it would make sense that they would have something like that. So anyway, who is Renji talking to on his iPhone 11 here? I mean, this is straight up an iPhone. He's talking to Ichigo, who's looking great. His new haircut is a vast improvement over the one he had at the end of the series. So he's at Keigo's ramen shop, and it seems like now there is FaceTime with Soul Society. I initially was thinking, how the fuck do they have cell service between the human world and Soul Society? But then I forgot that they had, like, Soul Reaper communicators, and this thing was created by Urahara, because of course it was. Also, this is confirmation within the manga that Urahara survived the end of Thousand Year Blood War. I know it's confirmed in one of the light novels that him and Yoruichi make it, but one of my biggest gripes with the end of Thousand Year Blood War was the fact that we never see what happens to Urahara and Yoruichi and Grimmjow and Nell. We just never see what happens to them. So it's good that we got confirmation in the manga that Urahara is alive, and that means it's safe to assume that the other three are alive, even though, yes, I know they're alive in the light novels. Whatever. So Rukia shows up, her haircut has changed again, she's looking good. She's very fascinated by this Soul iPhone that they have. She reminds me, it's like when someone's grandmother sees a smartphone for the first time. It's a pretty funny interaction. She chides Ichigo for having Orihime stay at home to do laundry, which is good. The dynamics between these characters has not changed at all, and I'm very happy to see it. Everyone's back, basically. Everyone's back just the way they were, including Mayuri, who's here in a absurd costume. Just so fucking ridiculous. This is probably one of my favorites so far, just because of how stupid it looks. I feel like Mayuri intentionally tries to wear the most ridiculous shit humanly possible, and I love him for it. Mayuri's gotta be one of my favorite characters in all of Bleach. I heard that Kubo said Mayuri spends 2 hours a day just putting on makeup, which sounds really weird considering his whole concern is, science and shit. You think he wouldn't care about stuff like that, but then again, you look at what the dude wears every day, and you figure, oh yeah, I guess he would do that. Also, it's weird to think about Mayuri looking like a normal dude under all of that. It's less weird to think of him just looking like this naturally. So Mayuri is here. We get an introduction to his new hologram technology. He's created this new gross bug-generated hologram technology that he's put all over Soul Society, and he is using these holograms to send announcements to all of the divisions about the Soul Festival thing, the Soul Ritual. So we get to see the 4th Division, the 5th Division, basically catching up on everybody. We see the 1st Division, we see the 2nd Division, pretty much all of their respective officers, their captains, their lieutenants. Most of them are still the same, but we do get the 7th Division barracks with Iba, who of course replaced Komamura, and we get introduced to the new vice captain. The vice captain is the first new character, brand new character we get introduced to in this chapter. His name is Atao, and he is at the very least mute. He does not speak. He communicates through sign language, and he seems to really like animals. Now, it's unclear if he's just mute or if he's also deaf, because later on, it's implied that you can speak to him using sign language, which, I mean, you would do if he couldn't hear you, and he can read lips. So, I think it's implied that he's also deaf, which makes me wonder why Iba would yell for him. I don't know, maybe he's not completely deaf, he's still kind of able to hear things a little bit, but he's not really able to decipher, so if Iba was yelling, he would be like, oh, someone's behind me. But he seems kind of like he regrets yelling at Atao, like he didn't know what was going on, which I like Iba, even though I think he's another criminally underused character. But yeah, this Atao guy, one of the best new additions from this chapter. He's great, which I'll talk about later as he does more stuff. So we see Toshiro with Rangiku. Mayuri is in the 9th Division barracks. Hisagi accuses him of being conscious of Urahara's new inventions and that he's trying to compete with him. So then Mayuri shoots eyeball lasers out of him. Somehow his hologram shoots eyeball lasers that almost hit Hisagi, and we see that Kensei is still the captain of the 9th Division, which is cool. This little montage here is basically just a, hey, look, everybody's here thing, so that we can all be like, hey, I remember these characters, and it's just great to check up on everyone and see how they're doing. Now, we skip a little bit past this. Back in the human world, we see and get an explanation that captains are the ones who attend the rituals, and vice captains are the ones that go and collect the hollows. So Ichigo is here with all of the vice captains, which is kind of weird because he's not a vice captain, and even he wonders why he's here. And Renji's asking him, like, why is he here in the first place? And this is because he thought Renji told him to attend, but Renji wanted him to attend the ritual, not the hollow capture. Which, I mean, is fair, because Ichigo is fucking beyond captain level. So him hanging out with all of the vice captains is a little bizarre. I brought this up before this chapter came out, but the idea of Ichigo, as he is now, going around and just killing random hollows is beyond hilarious because it's such massive overkill. It's like him going around and, like, sweeping up particles of dust. That is the level of difficulty Ichigo should have with dealing with hollows at this point. Being one of the top of the verse characters. It's such overkill. And it's hilarious. So, we get some banter between the lieutenants. This is where we get the scene kind of explaining Atao. And then we get introduced to another new lieutenant. This is Yayahara Yuyu, who has one of the more interesting designs of the new characters in this chapter. She has been very influenced by Gyaru, which is like this rebel girl thing in Japan, if I understand correctly. And she is naturally the vice captain of the 8th Division, which Lisa is in charge of. And Lisa, in case you all forgot, is a pervert. So, it just kind of works. Even Ichigo says that makes sense that she's her vice captain. And Yuyu is, like, trying to take a bunch of selfies with Ichigo for her social media, which, to be fair, I feel like most of us would do if we ever saw Ichigo. So we see that Ichigo is coming into the real world, snuck out to try and basically get a look at this whole hollow capturing thing. We see some of the hell butterflies flying around, and then she notices something, which no one else notices, which is this really fucking creepy, skinny hollow thing. And instead of just having, like, a normal body with holes in it, it has these rings. It has 2 rings, which is very strange. And the thing is, none of these people notice it. They're all facing in different directions, so I guess it snuck up behind them, but none of them see it. Even Ichigo. And Renji. I mean, Renji's definitely beyond captain level from the point he got to in the 1,000-Year Blood War, but Ichigo doesn't even notice it. And this is Ichigo. So Ichigo's wondering how the fuck none of them notice it. The thing goes in to attack them, so she calls out to Renji, and he's surprised by this, but gets hit by the attack, because he didn't feel it coming, and gets blown through a bunch of buildings. Now this hollow then goes to attack Ichigo, and, well, it's Ichigo. So, naturally, it gets obliterated instantly. So all of the vice captains are freaking out, and then, I can't remember her name, but one of the vice captains from the 13th Division, I think, gets stabbed through the stomach by another hollow, and we see a bunch of these, and these new hollows have pretty cool designs. I like the new ring aesthetic. I really like the one that has the ring, like, on its nose. It's really cool. So, there's clearly something up. Something is very strange about these hollows, and Ikkaku points it out. They don't have Reiatsu, which is very weird, because pretty much everything has Reiatsu, even humans. Humans have, like, very minimal levels of Reiatsu. So for these to have none whatsoever is extremely bizarre. And that's, of course, why they weren't able to sense them. My kind of explanation as to why they wouldn't even notice it is something we found out in Shunsui's fight with Lille Baro, is that people who have lots of Reiatsu, Soul Reapers, Quincy, Arrancar, they rely on both sight and sort of this sixth sense for seeing Reiatsu, and for people that are really deep in combat or that rely a lot on sensing Reiatsu, after a certain point, they don't even really use their eyes anymore. They're just kind of sensing Reiatsu. So my explanation for this is that these guys are all doing that. So as a result, when this thing sneaks up on them, they don't even process that it's there, because they're only looking out for Reiatsu. So we see a lot of the lieutenants in action, mostly the new lieutenants. We see Atao activate his Shikai, and I only noticed this after the fact, and this is so cool. This is one of the coolest things in this chapter, is Atao is mute, at the very least, so he can't speak. So how does he call out his Zanpakuto's name if he's mute? he carves it or inscribes it into the side of his blade, and that's how he activates his Shikai. He writes in the kanji or whatever. This is so cool. This is so cool. I can't believe Kubo never thought of this when doing the main run of Bleach. So I am so grateful for the fact that he's come back now just for the sake that he was able to think of something awesome like this. So Atao's Shikai is like this origami chain. He calls out Taka, which means hawk. I don't know if that's like a special attack or if that's actually the name of his Zanpakuto. But the origami, I'm not sure if it turns into or summons a bunch of hawks, which then swarm, in my opinion, the coolest looking of these new hollows, and devours it. Just strips the meat from the bone. So I really like this sort of vibe that Atao has going, where he's very peaceful and graceful, but his powers are very gruesome and violent. I quite like it. So then the Gyaru chick Yuyu is climbing up this thing's skeleton, got her tongue sticking out, looking very degenerate as you would expect from Lisa's lieutenant. So she jumps up in the air, and I'm not sure if she's using Zanpakuto powers. I'm not sure if her nails, like, I thought of it because we were talking about it last night. Maybe her fucking nails are her Shikai or something, which would be something. I'm leaning more towards the idea that this is Kido or Shumpo. She does this big bear bite attack, Gao, bites the hollow's head off, and then bites its crotch off, which is like, yuck. Then we see Akon, who's back, of course, after Nemu basically died and then had to be remade as a new Nemu, so still a child. Akon was the third seat in the 12th Division. So, of course, he would become the new lieutenant. He uses some acid stuff, melts away one of the hollows, real cool. Another hollow sneaks up on him and gets obliterated by Kira, who I never remembered being this cool in the main series, other than when he showed back up with that hole in his chest. Kira is just a humongous, edgy badass now, which, hey, I'm not complaining about. Now, when Renji tries to get away with Ichika, he gets latched onto by these chains. And whoever's generating these chains says that he's so lonely. And initially, before I even turned this page, I was freaking out, because I immediately thought of when Asnot went up to Rukia during the second invasion, saying how he was so lonely without his Senbon Zakura. So I initially was thinking, oh shit, zombie demon Asnot, which would be cool, and maybe we could see anyway, but no, it's someone else. It's another guy who apparently we already knew was in hell. It's Szayelaporro. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love this new design for him. He looks so cool. He's got like this flaming skeleton left arm. His left eye is blacked out. He's got these chain tattoos. He's sort of wearing like almost, I want to say like Buddhist monk robes. And he's got this ring behind his head. Which I don't know what exactly it was from, but it kind of reminds me of some things in Eastern religions. It's a really cool design. Now, he's disappointed that it's just Renji here instead of Uryu and Mayuri, especially Mayuri, because remember, folks, Szayelaporro got fucked over harder than like anyone in the whole series. The dude is consciously like 1,000,000 years old now. He's mentally one of the oldest characters in the series at this point. He got a worse end, well, I guess now end in quotes, than basically any other character in the series. It was the most fucked up thing that happened in Bleach. So I imagine he would be pretty royally pissed off and would want to get revenge on Mayuri. Now, when Renji's like, why do you look that way? Aren't you dead? He says that he fell into hell. And when hollows go to hell, they're no longer really hollows anymore, and their whole is moved outside of their body, which becomes this big ring thing. The hatred and pain they feel flows outside of their brain, and it turns into like these horns for him. Now, I was wondering if this is some kind of release, if this is some kind of form release like Resurrection or Volstanding, if this is the new Hell power-up thing. But I think what it may also be, because there isn't any other change in his appearance, that this is just what happens when you come out of hell. Anyone that comes out of hell is going to have horns show up on their body, so they're like demons. So he threatens to kill Ichika, and then he says that he doesn't need to ask what Ichika is, but that's because the Warden of Hell is all-seeing. So it seems like we've got this new big higher-level entity thing, like we had the Soul King. The King of Hueco Mundo is really not a higher-level entity. It's just kind of a strong hollow. But we've got another thing. We've got a new big entity that exists in the Bleach universe, the Warden of Hell. Will he be important to the main story? Well, yeah, probably, because this is all very Hell-centric. But will we learn much about him, unlike the Soul King? Yeah, I know we learn about him more in the light novels, but I mean in the manga, because most people that read the manga probably didn't read the light novels. I didn't even know the light novels were a thing until way after the fact. I'm interested in seeing what they do with this Warden of Hell. So, he tries to go after them and kill Ichika, and our boy Ichigo steps in. Says, none of that fucking bullshit, get out of here. So Szayelaporro threatens to kill Ichigo. He says, I'm gonna kill you, Ichigo. And Ichigo says, who the hell are you? And at this point, I realized, oh right, Ichigo has never met Szayelaporro. He's barely met like half of the Espada, which is hilarious. So it's just this thing where the villain shows up, he's very hyped to finally defeat the main character, or really any character. It's like this big thing for them. And the main character has no idea who they are. It's always a great thing. So then we go back to Soul Society with the captains. There's like this black substance floating in the air. Soifon touches it, wondering what it is, and then Shunsui shows up and slices it with his sword. Good to see Shunsui. Shunsui is very cool in this chapter. He explains that this thing is a will-o-wisp from hell. And at this point, he explains a superstition. This is where we get the introduction, I think, and explanation of Rei, which is the unit of measurement used to measure the concentration of Reiatsu that resides within Reishi. So it's like your power level, basically. This is how you measure how strong somebody is. The average division member has a Rei of grade 20, vice captains vary between 5 and 4, and captains consist of grade 3 and higher. As you can imagine, by the standards of some of the captains, Yamamoto is probably like grade 0 or something. Like something ridiculous like that. Because of course there's a grade 0. If we have a 0 Espada and we have a 0 division, we're obviously going to have a 0 grade for Rei. So, for most Shinigami, when they die, their body just turns into Reishi, returns to the Earth Soul Society. People classified as grade 3 or higher, their Reiatsu concentration is too high, so they do the Soul Funeral Festival for them. Now, however, this is maybe not true, because there's a superstition that they can't return to Soul Society no matter what. Not even the ritual does that. So what is the purpose of the ritual? How do we get rid of this powerful Reishi? Well, the ritual sends them to hell. So, my fine people, are you excited for zombie demon versions of Ukitake, Unohano, Yamamoto, all of the Espada that died, maybe the Quincy? I'm very excited, because this means we get to see, we get to see Yamamoto and Unohana again. We maybe get to see Ukitake do something, finally. It took him dying and going to hell for him to do really anything on his own that didn't have to do with Mimihagi. We can see Ulquiorra again, we can see Baragon again, we can see Stark again, we can maybe see the Quincy again. I'm not entirely sure how they work, because don't their souls get, like, reabsorbed by Yuha? I guess we could see Yuha again. If Yuha is in hell, or if he just kind of disintegrated into nothingness, I'm not sure. Now, the way Szayelaporro puts it, I think he may be in hell, because he is listed among the powerful people that got sent to hell, and their big Reiatsu being on that side of the door is now pushing it open. So it's possible Yua is in hell as well. But yeah, I think in hindsight, Szayelaporro is an excellent character to have introduced this idea of dead people coming back from hell, because he's not super strong or super popular like Yamamoto or Ulquiorra, but he's recognizable. So when Szayelaporro shows up, it's like what I thought, oh shit, it's Szayelaporro. And then you think, oh shit, if the standard for strong enough to go to hell and come back is Szayelaporro, then we are getting like anyone who's been a mildly significant antagonist as a possible character to return. It depends on how long this arc is going on for, which I'll get into at the end of the chapter. So Rukia is in disbelief at this. She's questioning Shunsui, like, is this really true? I can't believe this. And Shinsui's like, yeah, I just thought of it, that it might have been true. So Szayelaporro explains how the balance has been broken. All of this massive Reiatsu that we had in Soul Society and the world of the living got sent to hell one after another, just in very quick succession. We had Aizen disappear, Yua vanished, I guess. So I guess Yua's not in hell. And Aizen, it's a good question. Where is Aizen? If Aizen vanished, is he still in Mugen, or is he somewhere else now? Then we had Yamamoto, we had Unohano go to hell, and now, today, as he gets stabbed through the chest, Ukitake got sent to hell. And this is Ukitake who stabbed through him. We see his Zanpakuto has come through the door and stabbed him through the chest, and drags him back into hell. And the ritual is completed because of them killing these hollows, which he calls ghouls. So I guess now we have ghouls. That's the new enemy type. And we see that, I guess, the ritual was completed in front of Ukitake because Ichigo still has his Soul Reaper badge, which was given to him by Ukitake. So Szayelaporro gets taken back to hell, and he tells them to think about how hell has been close to them this whole time. The butterflies that guide Soul Reapers have hell in their name. And they've had hell in their name for the entire series. So, what the fuck is going on there, my friends? The start of the new arc, Howl from the Jaws of Hell. So, I already knew it was announced that we were getting 3 more chapters, but I don't know. It hasn't been specified if we're just getting 3 new chapters or if it's going to be 3 of many. It's going to depend on when we get the next chapter, if it's a normal 20-page Shonen Jump chapter, or if it's like a one-shot 50 to 70-page chapter like this one. Because I initially thought this was going to be a Burn the Witch type thing, where you get basically a one-shot, a whole volume. You would get like a whole new volume of Bleach. However, it was then pointed out that would Kubo really call this an arc if it was only going to be the length of a whole one-shot? Because Kubo, when he does arcs, His shortest arc, I think, was like 50 chapters. The Fullbring arc was like 50-something chapters. So, it's not super likely that Kubo would do something this short and call it an arc. Now, I'm very excited that we're finally getting an arc with Hell, because I've had kind of an issue with the fact that Hell gets brought up very early on in the series. It's introduced, it's used to explain why there aren't a bunch of evil people in Soul Society, like there aren't just a bunch of murderers in Rukongai. However, it gets brought up, we're told that there's this whole Hell dimension in a series about the souls of the dead, and it's never really important in the plot. It's important to background lore, but it's never really relevant to the plot in canon. We got like a filler episode and a movie that's not canon. But now, oh shit. We have a Hell arc going on, my friends, and I'm very excited to see it. I'm wondering what Kazui has to do with it, because he's following around these Hell butterflies and seems very happy. I don't think he has any kind of evil intent. I don't think Ichigo's kid is evil. I think he either doesn't realize what he's doing, or he is able to see this from a certain perspective that not everyone else can, because, you know, the innocence of a child. So, yeah, what am I looking forward to seeing in this arc? Well, I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, more stuff from our classic main characters, but also a lot of my favorite characters like Mayuri, Kenpachi. I think we may finally see Ukitake do something. I mean, we see he dragged Xyloporo back to Hell. Is Ukitake the new Warden of Hell? Because he's apparently important enough to be like, Xyloporo, come back here, you little shit. Maybe we'll see his Bankai. Who knows? We'll get to see, hopefully, demon versions of Yamamoto and Unohana, which sounds fucking awesome. Like a fire demon Yamamoto. God, that sounds cool. We get to see the Espada again. I think we're at least going to see the popular ones like Ogiora and Stark. I don't want to get too excited. Raise my expectations too much, because, once again, we don't know how long this arc is going to be, and depending on the length, there's only going to be so much that Kubo can do in it. But I think there's quite a bit that could happen, and I'm very, very excited to see where this goes. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to be doing Bleach reviews now, again, for new chapters, which is so exciting. So exciting to be able to talk about a legendary series like this every week until it's over, I guess. I guess this is the new final arc, unless you want to consider this to be like its own thing. Like, Bleach New Breaths from Hell is the title of this little series thing here. I don't know. I guess we'll find out next week. Well, not next week, because I think Shonen Jump's on break next week. But next issue, I assume we're getting the next chapter next issue. So I'm greatly looking forward to that, and I'm sure you guys are too. So with that is all I have to say for this week's chapter of Bleach. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I'm going to be doing reviews for all of the new chapters of Bleach that we get. I also have a playlist full of my old Bleach arc reviews. Be forewarned, my video production quality was way lower. I was not as energetic or charismatic as I am now. And I was also being much more critical during those reviews. I actually like Bleach a lot more now than I did when I did those videos. But you should check them out if you're interested. And if you enjoy other series such as Jujutsu Kaisen, Record of Ragnarok, Chainsaw Man, and Kengan Omega, I do videos in those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Bleach with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have linked to that down in the description. The Bleach channel has gotten a lot of use lately, so you'll be sure to find plenty of people to talk about in there. And, of course, if you want to help support me and the channel directly, while also getting access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can also become a patron. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.